Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Decentralized Chain is for us, bringing you all things blockchain. So in today's episode, we are actually going to be talking to the CEO and co-founder of KikiTrade, Allen Ng, and hopefully I've pronounced that right. And really, it was an interesting topic because KikiTrade itself kind of more leverages on social trading, community to kind of cultivate that whole investing into Bitcoin, stepping into crypto for your everyday user. But actually it was a very interesting conversation with Alan. I'd say it transcended more beyond just talking about KikiTrade. It was kind of talking about the problems and the challenges that people are finding today when it actually comes to just getting into Bitcoin or Ethereum and learning how to just perform the initial trades, the problems that we have, how daunting it can be. So stick around, check out the interview because I thought it was a great catch up. And as always, please, if you like this sort of type of content, don't forget to hit the like button. Definitely subscribe to the channel and don't forget to hit the bell notification icon. And on top of that, as always, we are going to be doing yet another giveaway. So there's $100 up for grabs to get yourself into crypto and started. So stay tuned. But for now, let's jump into the video and speak to Alan. So Alan, hey, thanks a lot, man, for coming onto the show and, going to be talking about KikiTrade. If I know it right, I mean you're in Hong Kong at the moment, right?
Yes, I'm in Hong Kong. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no. Thanks for coming on. So what's it like in Hong Kong at the moment? What are you doing for? It's getting late your time now. It's about 8 o'clock, right, in the evening.
Yes, still in office. Everybody's still in office still.
Oh wow, some
yeah,
hardcore.
We're trapped in. We still can't go anywhere thanks to COVID. So yeah, just a lot of work.
All you can do is stay at home and work more than anything else. Well, Alan, look, let's jump right in and talk about KikiTrade because it's something that I've been looking at recently, and obviously we sort of had a little conversation. I thought it'd be good for the viewers to understand. It's certainly a platform that's quite well known in the Asian markets, not so much on my side of the pond, so to speak. But I think one of the things that was pretty cool that drew me in was certainly the UX around it in terms of usability, functionality, which I thought was pretty cool because, and a lot of my viewers will know about me is, one thing I'm quite heavy on is user experience. We need it in this space. It's definitely something that's calling out in every blockchain product, platform, DApp, whatever have you. It's certainly something that we need, and it's certainly missing today. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about KikiTrade? I mean, what is it?
Yeah, so to simply put, KikiTrade is a mobile-first investment app that was designed for specifically the everyday people. So it's not for when we start the business and also design the app, we interview hundreds of I would say, housewife, student, millennials, female user. We survey a lot of female users as well, because I think those are actually very underserved today because most of the crypto products, as sophisticated as it goes, but it still have a very steep learning curve for most of the non-finance professional people. And so that's why I think that's the problem we want to address, and is to bring more people and provide them with, I would say, if not better, at least a similar user experience close to what they've been existingly using, let's say Robinhood and other major platforms, at least close to their standard, if not better, so that they would feel like, crypto is interesting and crypto is easy to have a grasp on.
Okay. And I mean, it's interesting you mentioned obviously platforms like Robinhood and making it easier for people to be able to adopt your platform, so it becomes more. They just ultimately they ease their way in. They don't have to think about it too hard. Yes. Now, that obviously comes around adoption, and I'm curious with all these other platforms because it is a competitive market, whichever way you look at it. There's lots of products out there that one could say offer a very similar platform, maybe not experience, but I'm curious with all the other brokerage platforms that we do have out there. What is it that kind of sets you apart in terms of being able to drive that adoption and get people to switch to KikiTrade?
Yes, I think a lot of people that or users that we currently have is actually their first time buying Bitcoin.
Okay.
Actually, most of them is like have been studying or hearing about Bitcoin here and there in the years. They always want to make a move. But KikiTrade is where they, really started the first time, having a first time trial on it, and end up feeling that, oh, the it's not as difficult and as technical as they might thought. And also I think for some other users, they actually, switch from other services provider, regardless from the crypto exchanges or even traditional apps. I think comparing to crypto exchanges, we have a couple of things that stand out. One is that, of course, user experience, but the second thing is we emphasize a lot on the social aspect.
Okay.
Because if you imagine like crypto today, community is the thing that I think matter most. Right?
Yes.
The community is very scattered and fragmented across all different apps, especially when you're in India, for example. We use Telegram, we use WeChat, we use WhatsApp, and then I communicate with my Japanese and Thailand friend with Line and the Korean friend with account. Right? So easily there's like 5 to 6 apps.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Each app, maybe with like, I don't know, like 10, 20 groups of crypto folks talking about different things. So it's really hard for you to synchronize and get in touch with all the things. And second, you also have a lot of media apps, like news apps as well.
Yeah.
So for example, we have, Hong Kong and Taiwan, we use the word traditional Chinese, right?
Yeah.
In mainland China, people use the simplified Chinese. So easily you can come up with like 10 plus media platform. And we also look into the English content as well.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of content across different languages. So also we aggregate the news inside the app as well for people to check from one app. And also we provide, I think quite uniquely, we developed a copy trading engine similar to eToro, where you seamlessly look into the real-time holding and real-time strategy, historical performance, win-loss ratio, etc. of other so-called professional and full-time traders. And then if you like, you can choose to copy them and use their signal, and our engine will make your trade based on the signal proportionally, regardless how much you put in. So I think there's a couple of things that we stand out and we add more value to the crypto people. However, I have to be very honest, right? Like, let's say if you're like a heavy derivative trader, for example, then we might not be the platform for you at the moment because we don't offer a derivative product. We offer margin trading, but we don't offer derivatives. And if you, let's say your main investment philosophy is about betting on all coins and new coin listings and all kind of stuff, then we might not be the perfect platform for you as well, because we emphasize on the top tokens, right? The major coins. So that's why I think we have a very clear differentiated user target and also what people need compared to other exchanges. And I think that's probably one thing that stands out. And comparing to maybe like Robinhood, they are more servicing multi-asset class.
Yeah.
So they can not just tailor-made experience around crypto for them. Because in crypto, for example, we have U enhancement. We also do like maybe recurring buy or even dollar average buy. Those services cannot be exactly tailor-made across multi-asset class. So that's why we're more focused on the crypto itself. And you make sure that every user in our communities all talking about, in our apps, all talking about crypto, and that's what people cares about.
So that's interesting. It's I suppose I can see the angle that you're coming from in terms of the audience segment that you're targeting. You're right. It's kind of like your everyday. I mean, let's take today as an example, right? I mean, Bitcoin, the last time I checked, was like over $18,200. Now that's exactly. We've been waiting a long time for that, and
long
a bit too long to be honest. But the interesting part is you're going to get more people talking about it now, right? Because I saw an article in the BBC News today. So for me, from a UK perspective, I'm like, okay, because I googled and I thought, right, why? Because I'm not really seeing much of it in the news. In all honesty, I see it in all my crypto media outlets, but naturally that's because that's where they surface that type of content. But when I start looking at mainstream news, like and when I talk about the UK, I'm talking about BBC News, right? Because that's where your everyday Tom, Dick, and Harry will go and have a little look at it, basically. And I saw it there today, and I thought, okay, this is pretty cool because now it's going to start, getting a few people going. Actually, interestingly enough, the other day I saw a tweet from Macy Williams, who plays Arya Stark in Game of Thrones, right? And she said, "Should I go long on Bitcoin?" And she's quite young in terms of her age and the age group that she kind of represents as well. So then you start getting more people from that thinking, hey, people are just following Macy Williams because they're following Macy Williams. But, they're like, oh, yeah, so what are you talking about Bitcoin? What do you mean Bitcoin? And then, oh, look, it's in the BBC News. She's a British actor as well. So I suppose she has a lot of British followers, et cetera, et cetera. So I can kind of see it rolling up. And then I think then the next stage there is, right, somebody's going to want to be interested in getting into Bitcoin. And then, if you point somebody in the direction of Binance, okay, fine, it's a very massive platform, but if you don't really know trading platforms, you're not familiar with trading platforms, it's a bit of a minefield, I'll be honest. I mean, my background's in finance and risk, so I'm fairly familiar with trading platforms from the ground up. But, someone who's not very familiar with it will be a daunting experience. So I kind of
Yeah,
get the whole KikiTrade ethos that's kind of driving behind it, and that you're only focusing on, I would say, more the assets that have a higher market cap, which are the ones that tend to have more recognition across the crypto
exactly.
platform anyway, in general.
We don't want tokens where I personally invest, across a lot of altcoins because I'm in the market for
Yeah, yeah.
a long time, and I bet on projects as well. I look at the team. A lot of time it's more the dream than what has came out. And I have multiple experience where the token went to zero, or one dropped like 90%,
Yeah, yeah.
right? It's just, I think, very common in our industry, and that's not something that I want to provide it to our user base, because I think, imagine that if you have been following Bitcoin's news and
Yeah.
been thinking about it, whether should I buy Bitcoin, whether I should go crypto for 2 years, and suddenly you come up and you go to an app and you start buying, and immediately your asset went to
Exactly
zero,
right. Yeah, yeah.
80%. You're gonna be like, oh, I'm not gonna trust crypto
No,
anymore,
you're
right?
gone. No, of course. No, definitely. Anyone coming in based on the hype of Bitcoin and they think I can get rich quick on an altcoin, and then they feel either being rug pulled after it, or they see that 2-3 days later it's gone down to 90% from its all-time high of whatever it was. You're right. You're gonna lose somebody in crypto for sure, because
Yeah,
it leaves a bad taste. So that's
exactly.
interesting. It's interesting. So let's I mean, beyond the platform, let's talk about your team. Actually, I mean, I'm curious. How did you get into this space?
Yep. So before I was in crypto, so I got into crypto in 2017. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
not one of, I would say, early, very, very earlier
Yep.
community people, or I would say pioneer in the industry.
Yeah.
But I come from also financial background. I was with a private equity firm in Hong Kong,
Mm-hmm.
and then doing a lot of technology investment for them, early stage technology like autonomous driving, biotech, etc. Across the United States, Israel, and also Asia as well, China, Southeast Asia.
Mm-hmm.
So I was flying like 40, 50 trips a year to look at different projects and bet on them. And quite luckily, that a couple of this company has become unicorn later on,
Okay.
and one of them actually just bought by Amazon as well. So I really come from a tech investment background.
Mm.
And Bitcoin, and I would say blockchain itself, caught my attention in 2017. The first project I stumbled upon in investment personal money to is Bancor from Israel.
Yeah.
And at the time, I talked to the team, I look at white paper, it's like, wow, it's mind blowing. Like the world they try to portray is a couple of years ahead of, well, actually, it's multiple years
Mm.
ahead of what's seen in financial market today. So that's why I was like, it's very, very interesting. So I start, getting into the scene and spending a lot of time with the community, and then, invest in project personally. I also represented my former fund to invest 25 million US dollar
Okay.
into Telegram's first round token sale as well.
Mm-hmm.
And it's unfortunately how they wind up, but it would have bring a lot of users
Mm.
if it didn't sue them. And in 2018, I formed my company, Everest Venture Group, and we basically represent, and our shareholder base include like 10 listed company and top families across Asian countries, Korea,
Okay.
Japanese,
Mm-hmm.
Taiwan, China, Southeast Asia. And then I've been, trying to incubate and accelerate different projects. We've did a few great projects in the United States and Southeast Asia, and they end up doing very, very well. Like Flow Protocol, like Lightnet in Southeast Asia.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
They're all a massively successful project. And then I've been seeing that, like something is missing here, right? Why we've been talking about institutional adoption, why we've been talking about, crypto is for Bitcoin is for everybody,
Yeah.
but why only still is the people that have been in the industry for so long care about it? Why my cousin is not trading it? Why
Mm.
my dog friends are not trading it, right? And why they said they're interested, but they have never made a move
Yeah.
in the last 3 years. Even I told them multiple
Yeah.
times.
Yeah.
And every time they're like, oh, it's interesting, but they just never took action, right? So what was wrong, right? So I think of course you can say maybe there's technology standpoint and everything, but I think
Mm.
essentially when it comes to asking people to adopt something new, it's always about a learning curve, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if something's easy, you're gonna pick it up and use like iPhone right away. But if
Yeah. Yeah.
something like BlackBerry that you have to reconfigure, there's a keyboard for tapping, just like I'm not quite sure. So that's why I would think that you maybe would just start not from the technology point of view, but start with the user experience point of
Mm.
view and work backward to the technology, right? And make sure that we're designing something that is going to bring even more people into the market, right? Because the crypto penetration rate, honestly, in a lot of countries is very, very low. In
Yeah.
Hong Kong, it's probably like less than 1% of population that actually
Mm.
hold any crypto. In Australia, it's maybe 1.5%. In Taiwan, it's less than 2%. So compared to maybe some country like Korea, it's more advanced, like maybe 15%, right? But still very low compared to
Yeah, yeah.
stock. In Hong Kong, 35% of people trade stock.
Wow.
So almost 35, 40%. So that's why like it's a huge gap in between. And that's the market that we want to address and
Mm.
bring in.
That's interesting. So, I mean, and talking about actually bringing in markets, when I was sort of having a look at your various pitch decks, and I noticed that you have other partners or advisors that are kind of invested and shared in your vision. You had Face from Cacao, which is impressive, but you even had like Michael Kors listed, which is like a fashion brand, and
So
I'm curious, how does that play into it?
yeah, so as I mentioned, we our shareholder base of a lot of like top families,
Mm.
and one of the majority shareholder, Michael Kors, and ex-chairman of it, he's a very famous fashion billionaire. He's also my shareholder as well. So
Wow.
he's stakeholder in those company and corporation as well.
So,
So
what's the sort of value add to the project?
yeah. So actually, I think having a lot of like traditional shareholders and coming from traditional scene,
Mm.
and these are all like major conglomerates, etc.,
Yeah.
give us a different perspective. I think a lot of time, as we in crypto market for so long, we start like everything we think about is that everything's so natural to us, right?
Yeah.
It's always this how a community, everything how we communicate. We forget that okay, there's the crypto world and there's the regular world, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of time you need a passport to go between, right? A lot of time talking to my shareholders and my investors, give me perspective like, oh, they asked this question that I never thought they were gonna ask it because it's so natural to me,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So a lot of time you give me perspective, you give me resources, you give me channels
Mm.
as well to promote crypto and evangelize it
Yes.
across different platforms. For example, one of our shareholder, because his recommendation, he put me in the JP Morgan's Asia conference to talk about blockchain and everything, and
Okay.
I'm the
Okay.
right, and end up a lot of people actually are very curious about this, right? So I think it gave me a great platform and channel for me to evangelize crypto and break it down to them. It's not as scary, it's not
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
scary, it's okay, right?
No, it's neat. As in, it's interesting you say that because there are various, people that may look at such a large and wide advisory network and think, what on earth is going on? But sometimes the interesting part is that you need these other areas of industry that are not native to crypto in order to be able to expand the breadth, expand the knowledge, and general transfer of that knowledge to other areas. So you bring more people in from an adoption perspective. So it's it's
Exactly.
it's smart in that and it's needed. That's the thing. Whether you want to call it marketing or whatever else it is. I mean, yeah, there's always a marketing play, but actually, it's beyond that because in order for I think crypto to be adopted globally, to really drive that mainstream mass adoption, it needs to go into areas of industry that are not natively there with crypto or have no interest in crypto, right? But like
Yeah,
blockchain for fashion labels is actually an interesting concept. It has been around for a while, and you can validate the authenticity on the blockchain versus a fashion item that you've bought. But then ultimately, that fashion item could also become a unique fashion item because it's unique to an entry on the blockchain as well. So it's impressive, and I can kind of see how you then start bringing and integrating people together. Let's talk about roadmap. So where are we heading? I mean, what are your next milestones
yeah.
that the community should be
So
excited about?
so our platform is actually our platform is still quite new. We just launched for I think less than a couple of months, right?
Mm-hmm.
The user feedback is really good. A lot of them refer friends, so community is growing. I think double digit every week,
Okay.
triple months, right? So I think everything is going towards the right directions, and we're getting a lot of feedback from them, which is great, and
Yeah.
that's what we. And I think for the next milestone is we want to, of course, launch into more country
Yeah.
and also expand our operation team as well to accommodate and make sure they have great user experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now, primarily our user come from the Greater China market and also a little bit of Southeast Asia. And we're gonna expand more aggressively in Southeast Asia. We're gonna expand in Australia, for example. And I'm also looking to Israel, and from Israel maybe to go to Europe and go to other places as well. So I think that will be probably the biggest direction in the next year is for me to bring the services and localize it and build a localized operation around it to support, um, 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 for people to adopt. Because I think needs exist across different countries. I think this is a universal problem.
Yeah.
It's not Chinese has a problem. So I think a lot of people have problem with it. So that's what we're going to do, and we're going to ensure that all the operations are very localized, because I think that's super important too. Because every culture, every local tribes and culture, it's all very different, right? What they want, for example, in Asia, the reason we have the copy trading and the social aspect is because in Asia it's very big in terms of teacher and student, mentor and mentee relationship. And nobody actually trade Bitcoin all by themselves. Most of the people, I'm in some group that I have some mentors that are more expert than me, that I will listen to the advice in terms of what to trade. And then sometimes I have my assumption, I want to get validated by them.
Yes.
Right? And then routinely give out advice and things like that. And so basically we tailor-made the service around this culture. But a lot of times these teachers, you don't know whether they're real, right?
Yeah.
Because they can be talking some very general direction stuff.
Yeah, no, of course. Where's the proof in the pudding, as we say? Yeah.
So that's why we're like, you know what? If you want to be a teacher, you want to teach people how to trade, at least you should be, confident enough to connect your View API, your Exchange View API.
Yes.
Show people what you actually got there, right? You have a high win-loss ratio, right? And otherwise, why are you charging people money just for listening to a bunch of
No, it's very valid. There's, I think YouTube, crypto, Twitter, it has an abundance of people on there that will say, buy this, sell this, thank me later. That the thank me later comment, which just irritates me. It irritates me so much in general. Your grandchildren will thank me, like whatever. So, but you're right. As in, when you can actually start validating somebody's buys, sells, losses, it then forms that additional bit of credibility, because I think it transcends beyond just buying crypto. Actually, it opens up a channel for some to be able to then, like you said, have that teacher-mentor relationship, whereby they're also able to generate a revenue stream by being proficient at what they do and being able to, show 100% and validated that, they can achieve what they say they can achieve. And whether you choose to follow them or not, that's on you. But at least you've had the information in front of you to be able to assess, analyze, and come to an educational conclusion as to whether you want to follow them or not.
Yeah, exactly. And I will also want this to be very international, cross-border. So for example, like audience and these everyday people who are not sophisticated in Asia, they might be able to copy and being mentored by maybe a European professional who maybe been trading FX for his whole life, or who a methodology by himself when doing analysis and technical analysis and things like that. So then he can also get users and following like fan space from Asia, which is not so possible before. And he can also customize like how much of the performance fee for providing the signal he want to charge, and then this will be a healthy long-term relationship between. And this is what we want to foster for sure in the next couple of months.
So some of our viewers who are watching this are thinking, interesting. I wanna have a quick flip. Now, so let's put some of this to raise, because actually there is no token launch here. There is no raise here, as far as I'm aware. It's a platform that's already fully out there. So just for our moon boys and our moon chasers, there is no sale here. There's no pre-sale. There's no Lambo expansion. This is purely more looking at expanding and growing your user base and growing your platform. So it kind of naturally leads into my next question, which is around growing KikiTrade as a business. How do you plan to sustain the ongoing development? I mean, where is your revenue coming in from in order to fund expansion, in order to continue to grow and develop further?
Yeah, of course. I think since day one we'll be self-funding it, and it's lucky that we have our own B2B business that's already operating in Asia. We're actually famous as a manager as well in the market. We're also managing a lot of top families' money, and we're also making money from other B2B services. So we're able to use our B2B revenue to support the B2C growth. And I guess at some point maybe we will invite maybe a couple of renowned investors to invest in equity and maybe continue to expand from there. And we also don't rule out maybe a possibility really far down the road. Let's say after we have 1 million users, then we might launch a token or so, right?
Okay.
Back to the community and user who supported us. But currently, I think what's most important is on the business model side is we currently our product is commission free, right? We kind of believe this is the right direction to go, similar to Robinhood, right? So what we did is we charge a little bit of the spread, similar to Robinhood, they're selling the order flow as well.
Yeah.
So take a little bit of money from the spread, and that's how we earn money. And if you happen to use like margin trading, then we'll earn the margin interest rate as well.
Okay.
So those are the two primary, I would say, features that channels that we're going to earn money. Yeah.
So, I mean, as we sort of look to wrap up our interview, and thank you so much for going through KikiTrade, and to be honest, thank you for the conversation more than anything else. I've noticed that a lot of my interviews that I've had recently actually have become less interviews and more just an exchange of conversation between two folks in crypto, and it's really cool just to get the perspective, and we're in different countries and we have different mentalities as well to that extent. So it's really cool to see that bit. Now, one thing that's common amongst everywhere in crypto is community. So I'm curious, how do we keep your community engaged? What's your strategy towards that? Because ultimately, it is your community that is going to help you grow, be your advocate.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I think, when we talk about community, we need to think from, I would say, quality perspective, not from a quantity perspective.
Of course.
For some other project and entrepreneurs in crypto didn't quite really, I think, grasp it, right? When they could talk community, a lot of time they emphasize, hey, how many people in my Telegram, right?
Yeah,
There's 2,000, you got 4,000, so I'm definitely better. And I think that's not true.
It's not.
I think you think from whether the community member they're participating in the content. For example, even with our, I would say not very large user base right now, but we got like more than 100 like content posts on in-app community.
Yeah.
So in the app itself, we have a community column, a social feed, people interacting with it. And if you compare our social feed with eToro's like a social feed, which they're way bigger and way longer, we have more people posting comments and replying and liking each other, more so than eToro. So that's why I think that's a sign that the people is engaged to what you're doing, and they're discussing among each other, learning and debating, and maybe picking off, having beef with each other. And I think there's a great atmosphere you want to be in. And also, I think what's important is also the end-to-end support. What I mean end-to-end support is you also need to, apart from the virtual community, you also want to engage them as much as possible on a local operation perspective, right? So for example, tomorrow in Hong Kong, we'll be hosting an investment sentiment about Bitcoin, right? So and it's not just about Bitcoin, it's Bitcoin and stock. We talk about like how millennials should allocate their assets. And with like really surprised to me is after rolled it out for a couple of hours, there's hundreds of people applied for it, and a venue can only accommodate 100 people. We need to finding another venue to accommodate them. So I think you need to give them an end-to-end experience and make them feel comfortable, make them feel it's real, especially the beginners who just come into crypto. They need multiple additional assurance and knowing that, this is something real, these are legit people as well. And not just a company, crypto itself is legit. I think that assurance also need to give it to them, right? So that means a lot of educations. That means it's going to be a long journey. There's long investment you're making in these people. And I think that the more you make this kind of investment in the people, then you can expect more loyalty and long-term value they're going to generate for the platform, more referral they're going to generate. Instead of like, like I'll add you into my Telegram chat. I will say that you do this, I'm going to give you some free token. Then the loyalty is very short-term.
Yeah.
Fame is very short. And that's not what we want to do.
No, it's interesting you say that, because you're right that there are some Telegram communities that I've been in which are significantly large, whether it's ICO projects or what have you coming up, and it's interesting because the number of people that are talking aren't that many. Actually, you most really find that it's just 3 people just hitting question after question and just talking amongst themselves, and then you have the odd one that comes in and then gets booted out just for saying something whatever. Whereas recently I joined a more of a local Telegram community. To me, just the London-based folk, because in all honesty, I don't know many London-based crypto folk, just in my sort of social gatherings that I'm in. So and I joined one. Someone asked me to come along and say, hey, jump in, and it was interesting because the conversation there was kind of, we were going all the way back to 2017, talking about what happened in the market then. We're talking about what's happening in the market now. And no one was really specifically talking about any given altcoin. It was literally just around the mentality, the market psyche currently. And that's really what the conversation was about. It was about 5 or 6 people and I was sort of conversing in between that. And I was just sort of going down. So it's really, I agree to that point. It's about quality content rather than quantity, to a certain extent.
Yes.
Impressive. Well, Alan, thank you so much for going through KikiTrade. I think the next steps really here are, where do people need to go to find out more?
Yeah. I think people can, if you can basically grab your phone, Android or Android or Apple, and just search KikiTrade on your app store, and you'll probably see us coming up. It's very recognizable with this polar bear, Astron.
Yeah, right there on there.
Yeah. Kiki will guide you
through
your journey in crypto. And then also you can go to our website. There we give you links to download as well, just KikiTrade.com. It's quite plainful. It's quite straightforward. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, look, Alan, thanks a lot for your time. I know it's quite late in the evening for you, so I really appreciate you taking the time out to talk about KikiTrade. And hey, look, let's stay in touch and catch up in a few months and see how you guys are doing on the expansion.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Alan. Thanks a lot.